Hi, I'm Rachel Ash. I'm known as Rachel Keenes on social media. It'll be spelled out for you hopefully on the screen. We'll find out. I'm learning how to edit. But Rachel Keenes on Instagram at Rachel Keenes, and then on Twitch, twitch.tv/Rachel Keenes. And what I do is lots of different types of costuming. I primarily sew. I also do leather work, and I like to do a little bit of foam work. I'm working on learning how to bead, just kind of a little bit of everything. When I've come up with an idea that intrigues me, I do all the research, love research, to figure out how to do it as best I can. I'm doing a lot of learning. The corset that I'm going to be flossing today is only my second actual corset to make. Is third if you count the Yaya Han corset bunny suit that I made, which is the very first like boned anything I made. But this is only the second corset I've ever made. So I'm doing a lot of learning really fast as much as possible. And I really just wanted to floss this one because I want this one to last a while. I want it to be like a foundation piece. And flossing can help lend sturdiness to your corsets because it secures the bones so that they're not rubbing up against the fabric as much. So I'm going to show you how I floss my corset. I'm going to show you the designs and how to set up for those designs. Please excuse my stuttering. And I hope that you enjoy coming along with me on this video. So this is my box of embroidery items that I got off of Amazon. Well, the box is off of Amazon and the items in it are off of Amazon. I'm going to pull some bobbins out. I'm going to pull out the embroidery floss. And I'm going to pull out more embroidery floss. I'll talk about that in a second. And another essential item that I'll be talking about, let's get some more bobbins, is, for me, coffee cups. That's right. Coffee cups to help me undo this embroidery. So this embroidery floss is really cheap. And because it's so cheap, it's not as finely spun. This is great. It's actual silk, and I can tell because it catches on my hands, which are really, really rough. But it also needs to be undone. So you get it in big knots. The knots then tie into 5 smaller knotted items. And then you're going to see me actually take the floss and work it out. So I'm gonna link all this down below in case you want to go through the adventure of working your way through this embroidery floss. So I unknot it and I can wind it, and I found that winding it around these coffee cups is a great way to keep it from tangling while I wind it around a bobbin. Otherwise it will tangle while you're trying to wind it. So here I am, and one of the cool things about these bobbins, they have little notches in the top, so you use that to notch part of the thread in, and then you just wind it. And as I wind, I free it from the cups. And that is the basic thing. These bobbins are nice because they're flat, they store really easily, and the Tupperware that I got with it is pretty nice. I don't expect to run out of space in it because I have not done a lot of embroidery, so we'll see. And I love the fact that both of these videos were fast forward the same amount, but I've gotten my flow here, so it looks like I am a monster, amazing bobbin wrapper. And I am not. But once you get your flow, you go a lot faster. And so even though in the gold one I was wrapping, I was fast forwarded the same amount, I am just amazing with this brown thread. So this is what it looks like when you're doing that. You can see that it keeps the thread from tangling as I go, and that's what the thread looks like when it's fully done on the bobbin. And then I can put them in these little compartments. And I'm slowly working my way through that package, and I just do it when I have a little bit of free time. So this is my embroidery storage, I'll call it, and I'll link to that too in case you want it. This is what I'm going to be doing for real now, and I'm going to start with this corset that I have not touched. So here is a sewing gauge And I will also need, on top of a sewing gauge to measure out how far I'm doing things, I will also need a heat erase pen. And the first thing I do is mark where the bottom of the bones go. So I've marked like 2 little curves where the bottom of the boning ends. And that's just to help me know where to put the ends of my things. Then I'm going to move my gauge to 1.5 centimeters. I use that to mark 1.5 centimeters on my boning. And then I'm moving my gauge up to 3 centimeters. So this particular stitch is a total of 3 centimeters from the end of your bones. After I've marked it for 3 centimeters, I pick out my floss, in this case a beautiful peach. I get my needles out, and I start by hiding the end of my floss. So what I basically do is I pull out my floss until I get to the point that the end of the floss is hidden. Then I go back and I put my needle through the floss itself while I'm going back through the fabric, and that helps secure it more thoroughly to the garment. And then I'm ready to start. So the first thing I do is I start in a corner of that curve I put at the end of the boning, and I am so careful to try to not tangle it. This stuff gets caught on my skin constantly. Then I'm going to go up, I'm going to cross over, and I'm going to go diagonally from there to the 3 centimeters. So the first X we make is actually a 3 centimeter X. So I'm going to go up into the 3 centimeter dot, and then I'm going to go down exactly 1 stitch length from my stitching that I done with the sewing machine. And then I'm going to go right next to where I came out of the back of the corset, and I'm going to enter there to go to put my stitch next to where I came out, and basically just following the curve that I created. Now I'm going to come from the other side because we're making an X, and I'm going to do the same thing, but this time I'm going to go to the other dot, and I'm going to come out 1 stitch below it, and I'm going to match again right next to where I came out. And then you repeat, but you start back where you started. And the reason why you don't just do like 4 threads together and then 4 threads together is this creates a nice woven effect. So you don't want to do all of your threads at the same time. You want to do the 2 and the 2. So I say 2 and 2. I mean, you're doing 1 maneuver and then you're repeating the maneuver, but you create 2 threads across and 2 threads across. So that's why this is, once you get the maneuver, it's the same thing over and over again, which I guess is probably all embroidery, but there you go. So we're finishing this up, and I'm about to show you the weaving effect that this has. It's just a little bit prettier. It's a nice little detail. So here you can see how it's woven looking in the middle. And that's what happens when you do this. So here's 2 X's next to each other because this happens to be a double boned section of my corset. And once those X's were done, what I do is I come through on the other side, and I am going to actually try to tie up the strings that are in the back here. And the reason why I'm doing that is, if you notice, I have very few markings on the back from all my sewing. Part of the reason why it's good to come just 1 stitch down, aside from keeping all of your stitching together, is also to make sure that you have very little thread on the back of your corset. It just keeps it prettier. So I'm going to tie it all off, and then I'm going to hide my thread again, and I will have a pretty first set of flossing on my corset. So that is step 1 on this design. Step 2 will be with red thread. So that's going to come right here after this, because I have just now finished all of the peach. That's what the peach looks like when it's by itself. It's still really pretty. The X by itself is pretty, but it's actually not supportive enough. You really need something at the bottom of the boning to keep it from sliding past there. So that's what you do with the next X. You start at the bottom and you do the 2 threads, and then you cross over and do the 2 threads. And so instead of starting at the corner, you start around the center, move over just a little bit, and then do the 2 threads just like you do with the peach, just like I did with the peach. And then you move over and do the same from the other side. But you just do the 2 threads instead of doing 4 whole ones. And then again, you're going to tie off, and again, you're going to do your best to make sure that all of your threads are minimalized on the other side so that it doesn't interfere with whatever pretty lining you have given yourself on the inside of your corset. So that is how this one works. And if you feel like this has gone a little fast for you, that's okay. I am linking the source for these patterns that I got them from below in the description so that you can do them too. Yeah, and anywhere where I had that little bit of overlap was really thick and hard for me to sew through, so I always had to break out the thimble for those. So, and that's the last one. And now all my X's are complete and they're pretty. I love it. I love the graded harmonious. So when I get to the other side, I am now again just tracing out the ends of the boning so I can see where that curve is, because again, that curve is really important to developing that safe control over the sliding of the bone. I set my gauge to 1/2 centimeter, and I'm going to actually use that 3 times. And I felt the need to make sure you saw that. So 1, 2, 2, I'm so cool, 3, and there it is, 3. Oh wait, I missed the camera, not needed to move. All right, there we go. Okay, then I need to do 3/4 centimeter, and finally I'm going to do a full centimeter, even though I have trouble setting it up on the gauge because the gauge is smarter than me. So once I mark that, I have a total of 3.25 centimeters up through there. I'm going to pull out from the bottom, just off center a little bit, and then you're going to cross from whatever side. You don't want to go the side you're on, you want to go across that side to the first 1/2 centimeter mark. You still want to stay within the stitching. It just makes sure that your line is straight. That's what's helpful about that. And then once you pull this stitch through, you're going to go to the back of your garment, or I guess your corset, because what other garment are you flossing? And you're going to push your needle behind the fabric to the other side, because again, part of the goal here is to minimize the amount of string you have lying around. And aside from it just being prettier, there is an actual practical point to that, which is that, okay, really quickly, then you push out that same 1/2 inch up from the other side. And the important thing here is you're going to cross that place where you came in from behind. You're going to cross over that thread on the other side, just one over, and that's where you're going to go back to the back of the garment. And then you're going to go to the other side of that thread, because we're again going to create a weaving, and you are going to start the stitch all over again. And it is the same repetitive stitch over and over. So come out the back from one over from there, and then you're going to go to the second 1/2 centimeter mark. So anyway, the practical purpose of hiding the threads and making sure you don't have a big amount of thread, a buildup in the back, is also because you don't want it to catch on anything. You're layering this over a shift. You move it around from different things. If this catches on things, it's possible that it could weaken the flossing, which means that the flossing won't be very good for helping protect your boning and your corset from wear and tear. So, all right, and this is the same thing over and over again. You're just going to cross over your previous stitches, move over a little bit on your curve, and then you're going to start from the other side of the curve and go up and then cross on your curve, and it's the same stitch over and over again. And again, I am linking the source for the stitch. I like this one. I think it looks like a happy just explosion coming out of the bottom of my corset. I don't know, but I just think it's pretty. Maybe a feather. It looks a little bit like a feather, and I like feathers a lot. So after that, all you have to do is again shore up the threads just like normal. And again, this kind of tightens them up. It also keeps it from marking up your corset as much. And then you hide the thread, and that's it. So now that they're both done, guess what I forgot to do? I forgot to show the last thread being done like I was doing on the others, and I forgot to show ironing off all the dark marks from my pen. So you're just gonna have to trust me that I did that. And now you can watch me work through this beautiful ribbon that I will also link to below. It comes with aglets. It is specifically made for corsetry, and it's awesome. And right now what I did is I matched up the ends so that I could find the exact center, which is what I'm doing right now. So I work my way to find the center of it, and then once I find the center, what I'm going to do is I'm going to take the center and I'm going to tie it into a knot. The knot's not going to stay forever, but the knot's a great way for me to figure out exactly where I need to have the center of the top of my corset be. And then once I have that knot as my guide, the next thing I do is I count out. You can see me counting out. I thought it was funny where my entry point should be. So I actually start where I need the middle to be, and I go, okay, that needs to be under, and then I work my way up to figure out which way I need to start. So that's how I do this. And now you can just relax and enjoy me stringing up a corset to a little bit of music. So then I get to try it on, and I'm not very good at it yet. I tried to tie it myself, and I think I kind of failed, so I'm gonna practice that. In addition, and this was not a surprise to me, so I even have stuff next to me and ready. It requires a little bit of padding because I am not the largest girl. I know that is shocking. So I don't have the dream Victorian figure. But that's okay. I am ready and adjusting, still adjusting a little bit more. There we go. All right, now I am ready. And here she is. She's all flossed up. I love her. I think she's beautiful. I am going to hopefully get to use her a lot, and now I'm going to have to spend some time wearing her so that she forms to my body. So I hope that this was informative or at least a little bit entertaining, provided a little ASMR, whatever it is that you're looking for in your YouTube entertainment. And I will hopefully be posting another video soon. If you like this video, please click like, subscribe, write comments, ask me questions. I am going to be glad to hear from you. I'm Rachel. Bleh. And on social media, I'm known as Rachel Keenes. I'm looking down, so I'm going to try again.